for killing her child.
Hampton Roads military power in the hands of 9 men and women. Thousands of jobs and the region's economic stability at stake.
Mr. Chairman, the vote was unanimous. The motion carries.
One base is lost.
I'm just scared about what's going to happen because, you know, that is 80% of my business.
Another given a direct order.
We owe one last chance to the people of Virginia to get their act together.
Next, who wins, who loses, the debate over the undecided.
We are, in fact, going to have a major disaster at Oceana now, sooner rather than later.
Right now on BRAC Battle, target Hampton Roads.
I'm David Allen. Thanks for joining us for BRAC Battle, Target Hampton Roads. Tonight we'll take an in-depth look at the decisions made by the Base Realignment and Closure Commission. The military plays a big role here in Hampton Roads. To a degree, the area is licking its wounds from a direct hit to one base and a warning shot fired at another. That shot was aimed at NAS Oceana. BRAC gave Virginia Beach a March deadline to curb encroachment around the base or face a major realignment of the facility. We know some 2,000 homes could be condemned. On the peninsula, BRAC voted to close Hampton's Fort Monroe. The decision means the loss or transfer of nearly 4,200 personnel and the loss of millions of dollars to businesses. It also means the end of almost 400 years of military history for the city. First, though, Naval Air Station Oceana. Aggressive development by the city has crowded the base and created concerns for the safety of homes and businesses. It's the reason commissioners put Oceana on the BRAC list. 13 News military reporter Mike Gooding joins us now live from Oceana. And Mike, the beach here has a very limited time to fix this problem.
Well, that's right, David. As everyone knows, Navy leaders have really been warning for years and years about all this encroachment. Now, the BRAC Commission is doing something about it. As one commissioner put it, holding city and state leaders' feet to the fire to make sure they take some kind of action if indeed they want to keep the Navy's East Coast Master Jet Base here in Virginia Beach. The BRAC Commission imposed what appears to be an almost impossible set of demands on the city of Virginia Beach and the state of Virginia, requiring them to spend at least $15 million a year and to enact legislation to halt encroachment by March 2006. They must comply with the Navy's wishes for what can be built where, and they must condemn and buy all the property in the most dangerous accident potential zones.
And when there's something as serious as the encroachment issue at NAS Oceana, I mean, you can't ignore it.
10 years from now, 15 years from now, Oceana cannot be the future of Navy aviation because of that encroachment is not going to go away.
So the threat is this: do what the BRAC Commission says or face seeing Oceana's Master Jet Base assets move to Cecil Field in Jacksonville, Florida. Immediately after the vote, area leaders were cautious in their reaction.
I'm relieved and I'm happy that the base is not closed. Then obviously we have homework to do.
No doubt about it, we have some serious challenges ahead to try to, first of all, understand exactly what is required and what it's going to take to try to address whether we can do it or not, and in a very short period of time.
Right now, the city and state must take some kind of action about all this encroachment by March of 2006. Meantime, some Virginia leaders, including U.S. Senator John Warner, are saying that they think there may be grounds for a legal challenge to BRAC's action. David?
All right, Mike, thank you very much. BRAC has put a lot of people in Virginia Beach on edge, especially those 1,800 homeowners that live near the Master Jet Base. 13 News anchor Sandra Parker joins us now from Virginia Beach as well. And Sandra, people around Oceana tell you that they are confused and feel a bit betrayed by the process.
Yeah, they really do, David. We spoke to some homeowners in the Accident Potential Zone 1 who tell us that they were assured earlier this year that their homes were safe, that they would not be taken away. But after hearing the requirements that the BRAC Commission has placed on Virginia Beach, they're not so sure. When Kim Hall and her family moved into Cheltenham Square 23 years ago, she knew there would be noise.
The jet noise doesn't bother me. I mean, sometimes it's kind of irritating, but, you know, I knew they were here, and that doesn't bother me.
But it wasn't until earlier this year she found out that her home sits in an APZ-1, a key accident potential zone. But even that didn't bother her.
I guess, you know, moving close to a base, you know that it could be an accident at any given time.
But when BRAC commissioners said in order to keep Oceana the way it is, they want these accident potential zones cleared out, she got upset.
It's like, what did they expect was going to happen? It was only a matter of time. You see how close they're building to that base. It was only a matter of time.
But time is what city manager Jim Spoor says may be somewhat on their side.
It's going to take many, many months before anything could even potentially happen.
That's still not enough reassurance for Frank Condon, who also lives in the neighborhood.
Over this past summer, I've done almost $30,000 worth of repairs to my house with them telling me it was okay, that we were safe and we were going to stay here.
So what would city manager Spoor say to residents like Condon and Hall?
I don't know if I'd be immediately concerned, but I think it would be something that you would want to watch as this unfolds.
Not exactly what they were hoping to hear.
Don't know what we're going to do. I think it's a shame that the city's done this to us.
We all feel it's going to happen. You know, we feel stabbed in the back by the city of Virginia Beach.
So now residents in the affected area are stuck playing the waiting game, waiting to see what city officials will do and wondering how it will affect them and their homes. David, back to you.
All right, Sandra, thank you. Hindsight is 20/20, they say, but encroachment at Oceana did not happen overnight. Look at these satellite photos, courtesy of our partners at the Pilot. The first was taken back in 1993. And then in 1998, you can see the result of aggressive development by Virginia Beach. And this map shows Lynn Haven Mall is in the potential crash area with the Convention Center and Green Run on the edge. We found there is plenty of blame to go around for development around Oceana.
I think it's safe to say that the Navy and the city of Virginia Beach co-share what has occurred over time.
Vice Admiral Richard Sweet P. Allen has strong opinions on Oceana. His ties to the base date back to the 60s. He later served as Commander, Naval Air Force, U.S. Atlantic Fleet. Allen says the problems today with encroachment and jet noise were visible 30 years ago, and the city and the Navy should have worked together then to head them off. As for the Navy, Allen says it should not have agreed along the way to allow development in certain jet noise areas, only to later alter its position.
The city is sort of hamstrung with that. I mean, the military rule changes and the city has to salute the flag and say aye, aye.
As for the city, records show it's had a hard time saying no to developers. Our partners at the Pilot recently examined 70 development proposals dating back to 1974. 51 of those proposals passed over Navy objections. Perhaps no development project has been more controversial than Lynn Haven Mall.
I know a lot of us just scratched our head in bewilderment at how in the world could this happen? How could a major mall be approved when it's right on the downwind leg of the landing pattern for runway 5?
But it's the risk of a disaster sooner than later that seems to have brought BRAC to this point. Former Congressman Owen Pickett disagrees with the predictions of gloom and doom.
I don't want to convey the idea that it's without risk, but I think it's a manageable risk for our community.
Pickett points to the fact there's been just one fatal jet crash in the past 18 years where a civilian has been killed. Oceana has come a long way from the prop planes that flew here during the days of World War II. Admiral Allen says the accident rate has dropped 30 times what it was years ago, while the jets today have become much more technologically sophisticated.
The accident rate is significantly, I mean significantly lower now than it was in the 40s or 50s.
Admiral Allen adds splitting squadrons, asking military families for longer deployments, things like that, would cost more money than it would save. When BRAC battle Target Hampton Roads continues, a closer look at Oceana and why whatever's decided could be very costly. But first, a direct hit on Hampton's Fort Monroe. We'll talk with the mayor of Hampton about the city's future without the historic base.
Chevy's proud to be the #1 selling passenger car brand in America. And we have the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. We've always broken the rules. Now we're rewriting them with the Chevy employee discount for everyone. You pay what we pay, not a cent more. Get an 05 Trailblazer LS 2-wheel drive with an MSRP of $27,150 for a Chevy employee discount price of $21,417 after cash back. See your local Chevy dealer.
For a good Is the cheesiest kid in America in your house? Find out in the Cheesiest Kids in America contest from Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. Winners will get their face on the famous blue box, a scholarship, and more. See specially marked boxes for details. The Kraft Cheesiest Kids in America contest. Could the winner be one of yours?
Since we introduced the Ford Family Plan, hundreds of thousands of Americans have joined in on the savings. Now we're extending the plan until September 6th. Get employee pricing on F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, including F-150, the highest-ranked light-duty full-size pickup in initial quality by J.D. Power & Associates. Now buy a 2005 F-150 for just $15,270. That's employee pricing plus $3,000 cash back on a built Ford Tough F-150. No hassles, no gimmicks. Visit your neighborhood Ford store today.
Today's Mega Millions jackpot, $97 million.
Looks like the Chrysler Group has done it again. They have their most award-winning and freshest lineup ever. They have 12 vehicles with 5-star frontal crash test ratings. And their vehicles are projected to retain their value better than GM or Ford. You know what's missing?
A great deal.
Get employee pricing plus on remaining 2005 Chrysler, Jeep, or Dodge models.
It's like you always used to say, Grandpa.
If you can find a better car, buy it.
That's my girl.
It's a spirit driven by pride in where we live, the work we do, the difference we make. 13 News, the spirit of Hampton Roads.
And welcome back. The future of Oceana is up in the air, but there's no doubt about the fate of Fort Monroe in Hampton. It's been an Army post since the 1800s and has a history even longer. Regardless, the BRAC panel recommended the base be shut down. 13 News anchor Regina Mobley begins our coverage with a look at Fort Monroe's future.
Under the BRAC recommendation, functions at Fort Monroe will move to nearby Fort Eustis. The state would take over the more than 500 acres that include numerous historic landmarks and several homes with spectacular waterfront views. But the property is haunted by the ghost of wars past. It is loaded with ordnance, some of it unexploded. How big is the cleanup job at Fort Monroe? Well, back in 1994, the federal government conducted a survey of the base, and when it looked at open spaces on the base, it found 73,000 magnetic anomalies, that is, places where there could be ordnance. And when it examined the moat, it found 80,000 anomalies.
There's not a place on what we now call Fort Monroe that does not have a potential environmental issue.
Some estimates put the cleanup cost at $200 million, but lawmakers in Virginia say the cost is closer to $1 billion. Lawmakers say they will pressure the feds to make sure the land is in pristine condition when it's returned to the Commonwealth of Virginia. From Hampton, Regina Mobley, 13 News.
Joining me now to talk more about Fort Monroe is Hampton Mayor Ross Carney. And Mayor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Does anyone really know the extent of the environmental challenges at Fort Monroe?
Oh, I think we have an idea. The government at one point said $200 million. Our last figures look at $1.6 billion for the cleanup. In addition to the armament that is buried there that we know of, dating back to the Civil War, most of it, we also have the discovery of a contraband slave cemetery and also an American Indian cemetery.
Are you concerned at all about the length of time that it could possibly take the government to clean up the site?
Yes, I am, because with the war in Iraq and funds being so short to support our young men and women over there now in harm's way, I fear the fact that they may just lock the gate until they have time to go to it. The hit on the economy in the city of Hampton has been a -7%. That equates to, on the peninsula, the closing of Busch Gardens and Anheuser-Busch.
Is there any help, any immediate help, or in the transition period for all those businesses, say in Phoebus, that are so close to the base?
Well, you know, it's kind of a mixed reaction to the Phoebus community. We have a great love and respect for Fort Monroe. That's where I've grown up and lived today. But we have noticed with the downsizing of Monroe since the Continental Army Command was split back in the 70s, that we haven't had the infusion of people from Monroe in the Phoebus area or the Hampton area as we did in the past. There is sadness to the fact that Monroe is going to close. There is a close relationship that we have historically, and my roots go back to the Civil War. My grandfather was a Union soldier there. But the potential of what could happen at Monroe, with the reuse plans that we have in a mixed situation of both industry and housing is somewhat exciting for our community.
All right, and we will be watching. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mayor. Thank you so much for being with us. All right. Well, Hampton's loss is another city's gain. Closing Fort Monroe means moving 1,500 personnel to Fort Eustis. That's due to the move of the Training and Doctrine Command to Newport News. And Fort Eustis will also gain personnel from the closing of Fort McPherson in Georgia. Thursday, BRAC shut down moving the Army's Aviation Logistics School from Fort Eustis. Up next for you on BRAC Battle, Target Hampton Roads, all eyes are focused on how Virginia Beach will deal with a tough decision. Next, a discussion with a local state delegate and her thoughts on Oceana's fate.
I know there are big changes coming to Medicare, but I need to know how those changes affect me.
I need information from someone who will look me in the eye and answer my questions.
Come to me, where I am. Make the effort.
So we can get to know each other.
Medicare is changing. So Humana Medicare advisors are reaching out across the country, bringing over 20 years of Medicare experience to you.
Sit down. Spend time finding out what I need.
Keep it simple.
Watch for Humana in your neighborhood. We'll listen. We'll talk. And we'll help you understand all the changes in Medicare.
Good advice from someone who knows me. That's hard to beat.
Humana Medicare advisors are coming. Let's talk.
Humana. Guidance when you need it most.
Nothing's hotter. Cadillac. Breakthrough. The Cadillac employee discount for everyone. You pay what we pay.
The famous brands are back at Value City prices. Now it's our unbelievable buy one, get one 50% off shoe sale. Thousands of big name shoes. Buy one, get one 50% off. Dress shoes, athletic shoes, men's, ladies, and kids shoes. Buy one, get one 50% off. Announcing one sale for all walks of life. The Value City buy one, get one 50% off shoe sale. You gotta see the V.
Some very difficult and costly decisions lie ahead in the wake of the BRAC's decision on Oceana. And joining me by phone to look at some of these issues is State Delegate Terry Suit of Virginia Beach. And Terry, you say that BRAC is only recommending the possibility of realigning Oceana if the city does not deal with this encroachment issue. That means the jets could go, but the base would not close, leaving the city no chance of redeveloping the property. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, David. And there's been a lot of confusion about that. I think the public is under the perception that it's whether or not we're looking at an issue of whether or not Oceana stays open or closes, and that is not the issue. Oceana would still stay here, but it would be a ghost facility, a ghost town, and we would lose the economic engine, the jets and the air wing and all the support activity, and be left with about an 8,000-acre hole in the center of the city that would not be available for us to redevelop economically.
Terry, you're saying that there's a cost here of keeping the jets at Oceana and the cost of losing them. Do we know yet which is the greater cost?
No. In fact, I've asked for that information. I know others have asked for it too. You know, everything's happening very fast and very furiously. I believe the Planning District Commission is working on some of those figures, and there's two sides to both sides, really, when you think about it. You know, keeping the jets here means spending a dollar cost of $15 million a year by the city and state, as well as the human cost, the human toll of taking property, which we all know is excruciatingly painful and unpalatable. On the other side of the coin is the loss of all of the revenue, the tax income, which of course is where the $15 million comes from, the tax income from the job, from the income tax, from people shopping at Lynn Haven Mall and areas around, as well as the real estate taxes and whatnot, and then also the cost of the loss of value of property.
Terry, with all that's at stake here, how could city leaders allow themselves to get so close to such a slippery slope?
That is a great question, David. I mean, hindsight is 20/20. I think some people weren't around. They weren't on council when those decisions were made. Some folks may be a bit in denial and not understand the true implications. I don't have an answer for you there. It's as frustrating for me as it is for you and others.
All right. State Delegate Terry Sue joining us on the phone. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
One group that has been very vocal in this process, citizens concerned about jet noise, or Cajun. The group's chairperson, Kim Johnson, joins me now. And Kim, BRAC commissioners said this week very clearly, the issue for them was not jet noise, but encroachment. Your reaction to that?
Encroachment is a byproduct. You have noise, you have people living under the flight path, and by virtue of that, you have safety, health concerns, and part of that is noise.
Okay. Is a realigned Oceana, as Cajun sees it, say 7,000 fewer jobs than are there right now, is that a powerful enough economic engine to drive the economy in Virginia Beach?
The Hampton Roads District Planning Commission put forth a study in 2001 showing no base reuse whatsoever and a closure over an 8-year period of time. And that depicted enormous economic growth in our region with a slight decline for approximately a year to a year and a half, or a slight recession if you will, and then great prosperity after that, stating that Oceana is not the only economic engine in town anymore. However, we do believe that one important aspect of this whole process is being overlooked, and that is that this is a fluid situation. There are still 2 more weeks to go in this BRAC process, and that the base not necessarily being closed has uses for realignment. And I think our leaders need to be forethinking and work proactively in order to establish other uses that could be here that are less intrusive on the lives of the people underneath.
I have 20 seconds left. How does Cajun see the future of Oceana?
A realignment would be the best possible use, very definitely.
All right, Kim, thank you very much. Kim Johnson from Cajun, thank you for being with us. And we'll wrap up with the future of the bases featured in tonight's show, plus why the decisions made by BRAC this week aren't necessarily a done deal. Stay with us.
Since we introduced the Ford Family Plan, hundreds of thousands of Americans have joined in on the savings. Now we're extending the plan until September 6th. Get the same low prices Ford employees pay for America's most popular line of vehicles, including family pricing on the 5-star crash safety rated Ford Freestyle and 500. Now buy a 2005 Freestyle for just $24,090. That's employee pricing plus $500 cash back on a new Ford Freestyle. No hassles, no gimmicks. Visit your neighborhood Ford store today.
Looks like the Chrysler Group has done it again. They have their most award-winning and freshest lineup ever. They have 12 vehicles with 5-star frontal crash test ratings. And their vehicles are projected to retain their value better than GM or Ford. You know what's missing?
A great deal.
Get employee pricing plus on remaining 2005 Chrysler, Jeep, or Dodge models.
It's like you always used to say, Grandpa.
If you can find a better car, buy it.
That's my girl.
Join the hundreds who have saved thousands with Employee Pricing Plus. The biggest for over 25 years. Greenbrier, Chrysler, Jeep, and Chesapeake. You pay what our employees pay, not 1% more. Plus, get up to $2,500 cash back. Or 0% APR financing. Military, get $500 extra. More Jeep Grand Cherokees, Liberties, Wranglers. More Chrysler Town & Country minivans. PT Cruisers, 300. Seabrings and convertibles. Plus, only from Greenbrier, Chrysler, Jeep, you get lifetime oil and filter changes, lifetime Virginia State inspections, lifetime loaner car program, and 14 more benefits. Biggest selection, biggest dealer, biggest savings. Only at Greenbrier, Chrysler, Jeep, and Chesapeake.
As the sweltering days of summer come to pass, the time comes for an event so momentous it can't be missed. The Toyota Time Clearance Event. Catch the keys on a great Camry deal. Choose the #1 selling car in America and get $750 cash back from Toyota. Test drive the Prius and all new Highlander hybrids, the flagship Avalon, or the most valuable player, Corolla. The clock's running, so catch this event now. With deals like these, everyone wins. That's moving you forward.
This week's BRAC's decisions are not final. The president will get the BRAC list and Congress will weigh in as well. And Virginia Beach has that March deadline to show progress on the encroachment issue. Mike Gooding joins me again with a look at the future of the BRAC process. Mike.
Well, David, clearly, as we've seen over the last couple of days, the future is pretty uncertain at this point for Oceana. Just what should state and city leaders do now? We decided today to seek the views of the man who co-chaired the Governor's Commission on Base Retention, former Congressman Owen Pickett.
Congressman, first of all, what was your reaction when you saw these conditions that the BRAC Commission put on Virginia if it wants to keep Oceana?
I was surprised and disappointed. Surprised that they would go out of bounds so far in making a decision of that type, and disappointed that they would even think it's necessary in this kind of a situation that we have here, where the community is totally committed to supporting Oceana. They're supposed to be reviewing the decision of the Secretary and seeing if he applied the principles that were prescribed by Congress in making his decisions. And they've gone way, way beyond that. They're on a rampage of their own, just doing anything they feel like they want to do. At some point, they've got to have stepped over the boundary.
You've spent years both as a member of Congress and in the years since doing what you can to try to help preserve Oceana. As we sit here now, do you think it's still worth trying to save?
Yes, I very much do. I do, because it's the right thing for the Navy. That's the whole issue here. What's right for the Navy? What's right for the Navy today is to leave Oceana open. The Secretary of Defense said that, and the Chief of Naval Operations of the Navy said that. Who else do you need to say it before the BRAC Commission ought to begin believing it?
And of course, these will be the difficult questions in the days ahead for local leaders. Is Oceana worth this huge cost? And is it worth the heartache that may be in the offing if this nasty business of eminent domain and condemnation has to take place in order to save the base? Tough choices, David.
Yes, tough choices, a lot of unanswered questions. Thanks, Mike. And of course, you can count on us to keep an eye on the BRAC process every step of the way. For all of us at 13 News, I'm David Allen. Thanks for joining us for BRAC Battle, Target, Hampton Roads. Good night.
Kia Amante.